You ever seen that block you just had to try on the internet? So you make the block, and now what do you do with it? Well, I took some more material and thought, well, I'll go ahead and put this together. And this was really boring, so I wanted to turn it into that. I just thought that would be appealing to go with that gorgeous center. So here's from here to here. And this is what it would look like with the center. So here's how I cut that block. Measuring 1 inch from the center. I cut it all 4 ways. This brings me a 2-inch piece in the middle that I'm going to work with and just move it around the block. Now you have to make sure you move it the same way every time, because then your blocks won't be unified. So I took the center, flipped the center. Then I'm going to take these two and flip them, and then these two and flip them. Well, that leaves the ends coming to the center kind of not very straight, so I'm going to trim them up so they're nice and straight, and when I sew them together it'll be a whole lot cleaner. I'm going to have plenty of room on the outer edges, so I can just go ahead and make sure it's nice. Even if it's a little bit off, it just makes it cleaner when you put it together and square them off. So I'm going to go real quick here and show you. I'm going to sew it together, run it real fast. I'm in fast motion here on this to get through this. Everybody knows how to sew. But I leave it on the board to make sure that I put them together correctly, and as you can see, I go ahead and make sure that I put them together really nice so that I have some nice straight lines. Try to get them all just nice and sandwiched in there correctly so that it looks nice and clean in the middle. Now the edges aren't going to matter so much because we're going to square this off a little bit more. We're going to take it to an 8-inch block is what the completed block is going to be. I started off with 5-inch squares. That gave me plenty of room to work with adding the extra seams, the 1/4-inch seams as I cut it up, and to be able to clean the end up around to square it off. I always have a tendency to make sure that I lay everything out and keep it laid out so that I don't lose what direction I'm going. You ever sewed something together and you're like, oh my gosh, I sewed it the wrong direction. Then you got to go take it apart and then put it all back together again. I've done that more than once, and so I've gotten to the point where a lot of times if I'm working with a piece, I keep it laid down like that so I don't lose my sense of direction. And as I said, on the ends, it's not going to match up. As you can see, I'm not really concerned with that point. I'm more concerned with getting the centers matched up and not the ends. Because here we have it's off quite a bit on that end there. But we're going to square it all off at 8 inches, so you can be a little off just in the center where it's the most important. That's why I use 3 pins rather than 2 pins or 1. That way I can just get it right through there and all my points are going to meet. So my points all meet. You can see that I'm not really concerned with the outer edges. Then I press it down, and I'll get it all pressed down. You can see how. Now here's what it would look like after it's pressed. Nice and clean. Pressing everything in the center towards the outside. Helps with a little bit with the bulk, pressing it outward. So I take and I get on here and I center my center lines. I center in and then I trim to 8 inches. It so happens this here is right in the middle, is 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and trim around all the way around on this. There, a nice trimmed squared block. So from this to this, such a difference. That will make that block that I made really stand out. Thanks for joining me. Bye. Just imagine.